experiences. So how does a conference happen, by the way? What makes a conference a conference? There's really a lot going on when you want to make a conference happening. And you need speakers, sponsorship, catering, travel grants, ticketing, code of conduct enforcement. There's a lot of things going on. Also time and money. The conferences I've run, they take at least 6 months to plan, mostly 9 months, so 6 to 9 months. And money. Money makes everything happen. And when I decided to join the PyLadiesCon team, I thought, I'm an experienced conference organizer. I know how this works. I can bring my experience. I can help. I thought, I know everything that needs to know about conference organizing, and this is easy. But I realized that after I started organizing PyLadiesCon, I realized that I was wrong. Turns out, organizing PyLadiesCon is so different, and I just have to readjust my attitude and mindset, and I'm learning new things all over again. What is PyLadiesCon? It is a fully online conference. It spans 24 hours nonstop engagement, and we serve the global PyLadies community. We strive for inclusivity, accessibility, affordability, so it's free to attend, and it's fully volunteer-based, and we are multilingual. In PyLadiesCon, you never have to say, sorry, I don't speak English. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't speak your language. So here are interesting stats about PyLadiesCon. This is our volunteer stats. So last year, we have 152 people signing up who wants to help out. We have to review all of their applications, check their skills, their availability, and see if there is a match in our existing open opportunities. And we were only able to accept 70 people out of those. So being a global conference, our volunteers can speak lots of different languages, not just English, Japanese, Thai, Korean, German. We got volunteers coming from all over the world. And also because of our global community, global audience, also we need to fill in 24 hours of programming. We ended up with a lot of talks, a lot of speakers to coordinate with, and also our speakers get to choose to speak in any language they want. And as a result, we have speakers and keynote speaking last year speaking in 6 different languages. So how do we compare to other events? So I've contacted conference organizers. I know about PyCon US. I asked PyCascades organizers, and I asked EuroPython organizers, give me some numbers. And it turns out, in terms of volunteers, we are closer to the number of volunteers of EuroPython, 60 people. In terms of talks, we are really close. We're almost like PyCon US. We're almost like EuroPython. But we have to support 6 different languages, whereas all other conferences usually either support one language or bilingual. But the size of organizing team is really small compared to the larger conferences. We have last year we have 8 core team members, which is kind of similar to PyCascades, whereas larger events like PyCon US, EuroPython, they have so many different core organizers in charge of specific tasks. And conference needs money. All of these events, they have bigger budget than us. They have registration tickets, and we start with 0. So it's different challenge. And we serve and we are accountable to the global community. And so we work with PyLadies chapters worldwide, as well as with the PyLadies Global Council, and we also work the PSF, who is our fiscal sponsor. So now okay, I know how the conference happened. You know what PyLadiesCon is. It's different. How do we make PyLadiesCon happen? It's online. Don't you just get people on Zoom calls all day long? It's really more complicated than that. You started thinking, all the things that needs to happen in conference. Okay, you don't need to book a venue. Well, that's one less complexity. You don't need to worry about catering, no travel grant. All right, yes, these things can be removed doesn't mean it is any less complicated. Like, we still need to look for sponsors. We still need to put out calls for presenters, a website, social media, like videos. We still do a lot of things that needs to happen in a regular conference. But just because we remove these complexities doesn't make it any simpler. We have other challenges. Now we really need to figure out how are we gonna meet online? We can't use Zoom calls. We need to decide exactly what is the online platform we're gonna use. Although we don't have travel grants, but now we have to manage speaker equipments. We need to deal with translations, video transcriptions. We need to somehow have 24 hours of volunteer coverage. And we really need to have more collaborations, more help from volunteers ahead of the conference as opposed to just the day off. And we need to be able to do this asynchronously and taking into consideration language barriers and time zone difference. I don't know, like I have colleagues in Eastern time zone, even finding a meeting time with them is hard. Try finding meeting time for people in Asia and Europe at the same time. This is hard. And this is some examples of what our volunteers get to do. And so for each of the talk, we want to review the videos, the content. We need to check for audio quality, video quality. We have 70 speakers, 90 speakers. We need to remind them, please submit your video. So we need to keep track who has entered their video because we need to translate and transcribe. We do our own video production and publishing for now. And you might say, well, you could just hire people to translate, to transcribe. You can hire video production company, video production services. We tried. It's not that we don't want to, but because we haven't been generating income for the first 2 years, it took us 2 years to realize, oh shit, we need money to run a conference. We could not afford them. So this creates a strong dependency to our volunteers. And there is just so many other tasks. We need help from our volunteers. Like we need to have promotional materials written out, not printed out, just published. We need help in fulfilling our obligation to sponsors who actually pays and provide funding for our event. And as the organizer, our job is not actually to do all of this, not to do all of this by ourselves. We actually want to enable our volunteers so that they could help and contribute and feel like they are part of the community. We want them to help us do this. But in order to enable them, we need to give them access to the right tools, right access to the right data. They need access to speaker data, documentation, sponsorship data, social media account logins, a lot of things we need to share. But the data we are giving access to, the things we are sharing, they have private and confidential information. Like, for example, as the organizer, I have access to the ticketing system. I have access to all of your billing information, not your credit card, but I have all 900 people's home addresses, postal code. You know, these are things that I need to really carefully consider before I share access. I need to pick and choose what am I sharing. So I really need to keep track of who are our volunteers, what access do they have access to the right thing? And I need to keep track so that I can revoke this access if I need to, if they leave. Also, I need to keep track of who I need to thank. In the volunteering world, the currency is not money, but recognition and gratitude. I need to know in the end of the conference, who do I need to say thanks, and not only abroad, like, thank you everybody, but I need to say, hey, thank you. Who, what did you do? What did you contribute to this conference? I think that is really important. So how did we do all of this? Did we have Jira, Asana, Trello? You know, those things cost money. And for a group of our size, right, there are free versions, but for our group to be effective, these things cost money. You know what doesn't cost money? Spreadsheets. I know for a fact that we are not the only community to use spreadsheets. I've worked 3 different conferences. Everybody uses spreadsheets. If you ever see a sign-up form, like a Google form, that's just the front for spreadsheets. Okay, the back end of forms is spreadsheets. PyCascades use spreadsheets. If you apply for the travel grant, PyCascades, you see a form. That's spreadsheets. PyCon US. I help run PyCon US Maintainer Summit, and I used to help run Language Summit. We use Google Forms. That's a big spreadsheets. So conference runs on spreadsheets. So many spreadsheets. Everything in the form of spreadsheets: volunteer sign-up, speaker scheduling, moderator, sponsorship, financial, design, transcript, all of these spreadsheets. Here's an example of what the spreadsheet looked like. And this is just 1/3 of the spreadsheet. You need to scroll all the way to there. There are more columns. I have a 49-inch ultra-wide monitor just so I can see conference spreadsheets. But look at this. Can you read it? The texts are so tiny. And I say, we have so many spreadsheets. In fact, all of the spreadsheets look just like that. Not only spreadsheets are so hard to read, it's hard to share with our volunteers. Like, it's really hard to manage access and permissions. It's possible, but it's hard. And so we ended up like, okay, we're just gonna share everything or nothing at all. But without the right access, volunteers can't help us. And not only that, like, there are so many duplicated data in all of these spreadsheets. We have duplicated info across all of the different sheets for the same people. Just for example, as a speaker here at PyCascades, I already gave them my name and email address when I submitted my talk. So how is it when I want to register a ticket, I need to give them my name and email address one more time? And when I want to buy the t-shirt, again, I have to enter my name, email address, and address one more time. So I feel this is, we've accepted this, but why? So we realized that we're using our spreadsheets wrong. I'm sure there is a better way to do this. I'm sure a spreadsheet is good for something, but not for managing a conference. So we identified our problems. Like, maybe, what can we do to make all of this better? We decided, like, we were thinking about how can we improve our operations. We decided, like, we need to write more documentation. We need to explain what does everybody need to do as a volunteer here, what are their roles, responsibility, what are they supposed to be doing. We need to write all of this down, and we need to open source it. We shouldn't have internal private documentations. We did it. We started writing down all of our documentations. We now have this publicly available, and we really want to embrace the open source spirit. Our volunteer guide, sponsorships guide, these are all open source in a nice URL like conference.pyladies.com/docs instead of some, UUID URL. So the documentation are now more meaningful. And while I was writing these docs, we were writing these docs, and I realized, like, the things we wrote down sounds more like, if this, do that. If a volunteer joins, give them these access rights. If a team lead joins, give them other access rights. Like, why is this sound like a pseudocode? This is like an algorithm. Like, this is if-else statement, like a for loop, right? So there is logic in what we're doing. So we started thinking, all right, maybe it's not docs we really need. We need to automate. So that's another idea. Okay, let's write scripts. Let's automate. Like, there is Python in Excel now. Like, just write code to process data from spreadsheets and do things. We did this. We started doing it. We started writing Python scripts for reading and writing out of spreadsheets. We have a script. We open source this. We have a script that generates conference certificates. We have a script to automate G Drive management. And yeah, you can take a look. It's on our GitHub repository. But here's the thing is with writing Python scripts. Sharing your Python script is still hard. I didn't write unit tests in all of this. I didn't have documentation. I only test them on my computer. I know it works. I don't know if it's gonna work on your computer. You ever try telling people like, oh, install dependencies, activate virtual environments? Those are hard. So yes, now we have scripts. We have automations, open source, but if other people can't run it, it's useless. So when thinking about all of these challenges in managing our community, I just started thinking like, why are we doing this? What do we really want out of running a conference? Why are we spending time and energy to put a conference when most of the things we do is record keeping, is administrative, looking at spreadsheets, copy-pasting from one spreadsheet to another. And I really just have to remind myself like our reason for existing. What is the mission of PyLadies? We want to help more women and underrepresented group members become active participants and leaders in the Python open source community. If the only opportunities in our conference is in the form of copy-pasting spreadsheets and writing emails, that is not furthering our mission. That is not impact. That is not open source. So we realize we can't continue using spreadsheets. Spreadsheets-based volunteering is just not shareable, not sustainable. It makes our work invisible. Things are just happening in the background in my own local machine. It really diminished the complexity of our work. It's not helping us further our mission. So last year, 2025, this is the entire theme of my life in 2025. PyLadiesCon team said, no more spreadsheets. What we really need is real infrastructure, database. And we have the technology. We are developers. We're not gonna wait for someone else to come up with the better solution for us. Like, we can build this with Python. This is what Django is for. So we did it. And if we get to build our own web app, we could then scale up our operations. We could enable more volunteers despite of limited resources, limited time. We get to create opportunities for our members to actually contribute to open source projects. We will be able to give visibility of what really happens when you run a conference. Like, look at all of these if-else statements, all the emails we're sending. It's really not a simple thing. And we really want our conference to be sustainable, for knowledge to be shared. And above all, we just want to be Pythonistas to solve our problems with Python. And so let me present to you portal.pyladies.com. This is our web portal. This is 100% open source, PyLadies owned, 100% test coverage. All the tests are written with PyTest, Python and Django, the latest at the time of creation. I need to upgrade that. Postgres database. And you know, our work is complex enough that require at least 6,000 lines of Python code. And these are just the application logic, is not including the unit tests and Django migrations files. And we really want it to be easy for people to contribute. We want people to be able to run it easily on their local machine. So we have Docker, we Dockerize the project, and there is an initial test data included. There is a script you can run to populate your local database so that you can easily run and test it locally. And we have documentation, open source. And thanks to our close relationship with the PSF, we're able to host this on PSF infrastructure. So the portal is deployed to Cabotage. This is the same infrastructure that hosts PyPI. And also thanks to the PSF, we were given access to their Mailgun account, and this is what is allowing us to send a lot of automated emails from within the portal. So when you start a new web app, one of the things people say is really difficult to do, like, oh, you need to deal with users, authentication, you need to handle login, all that. Thankfully, because we chose Django, we could use this library called Django All-Auth. It handles everything. It does login, logout, password reset, email verification. It even handles social sign-on using, if you want to log in using Google. We didn't integrate it, but it's possible for you if you want to integrate with all other forms of social sign-on. And I could get all of this set up quickly. I think the only thing I need to adjust is some email templates. So Django All-Auth, use it. And because of the work involved a lot with sending automated emails within the portal, we need to be able to test all of these emails that are being sent locally without having to actually deploy and test the email in production. So there is this library called MailDev. It provides a web interface you can run locally, so you can receive the emails and you can see how it looks like in your local development. And even though we are trying not to use spreadsheets anymore, but we still work with stakeholders who still use spreadsheets. So sometimes they ask data in the form of spreadsheets. But that's okay. We can, thanks to library like Django import-export, we can always, there is a button you can add that exports data into whatever spreadsheet formats they want. And because we use Django now, we are now able to better do, we are able to have better data access management on our data. We could write code to restrict access to certain pages, certain views. There are so many ways to do this in Django, but one of the ways we are doing it in our web portal is by using the user passes test mixin. So we just created our own version of this mixin, just being able to control which page is gonna be available for our admins or which page are gonna be available to our volunteers. And here's an example of how we used to manage our volunteers before using spreadsheets. We gotta look at people's information in a big spreadsheet. First, you need to have a big monitor in order to see all of this. Review them one by one. You need to write them invitation email or rejection email, and then you go back to your spreadsheet, update the information, and you gotta do this 100 times back and forth. This is hard, like a lot of context switching, but now I can do this on my phone. Just a few check boxes and the texts are bigger. I don't need to open up my big laptop. No context switching, and the emails got sent automatically in one button. This I can do easily as many times as needed. The portal now handles the email sending. Like, we used to have to compose all of this by hand, copy pasting. Sometimes we made mistakes. Sometimes we even forgot to write the email, because having to switch between email and spreadsheets. But now this is all automated. Here's another workflow that we adjusted using our portal, sponsorship management. Because we work with the PSF, who are our fiscal sponsor. The PSF handles sponsorship, financial sponsorship contract. We approach sponsors. We have our own spreadsheets. We need to keep track of. Only when sponsor says, yes, I'm gonna sponsor, send us the contract, that's when we have to update our spreadsheets, update the PSF spreadsheet, write an email saying, dear PSF, please help us write the contract, copy pasting information. But now this is all just one click. Like, there is a button in the portal that sends email. to the accounting team. I didn't need to copy-paste anything. No copy-pasting, no spreadsheets. What if we made mistakes in our Google Forms? If there is typos, wrong translation, before the portal, the burden's on us. People would write to us saying like, hey, I noticed something's wrong in your form, missing this and that, and now we have to go in, update our spreadsheets, update our forms. But now, we don't have forms. We are open source. I get to say, thank you. Please open the pull request, right? And this is why it's great about it. Like when we started this, people were telling us, this is an overkill to have a web app for your conference. But now that we have it, it's easy to add new features we want, and we get to involve the whole community to help us. And thanks to the portal, we are able to improve the efficiency of our operations. In 2025, we are more successful than ever. We raised 55,000 USD in sponsorships. This is more than the first 2 years combined, more than twice of the first 2 years combined. And because we have this database, we are now able to build a public dashboard. We have a dashboard like this data. It's real time. It's the same data we see internally. We don't have another private spreadsheet. You get to see a lot of information, how many sponsors we really have. I get to pick and choose which data are important. And this is really important to us because we want to provide transparency and accountability to our community. And something I realized when I built this dashboard, I realized, well, I can insert some advertisement within the dashboard. So just for fun, I tried. As you review our information, I inserted the button that lets you sponsor and donate. Can't do this with spreadsheets. And now that we have our volunteer data, it is easy for me to showcase and to give recognition to our volunteers. I get to easily celebrate and highlight their contributions. We can now provide multi-language support to our community. There is a button at the top that lets you switch to different languages. Right now, we have Brazilian Portuguese in the language switcher, and actually I saw a PR for Spanish translations. So now we can better serve our global community. And with the web portal now, we could work with third-party apps. We can use APIs, webhooks. For example, here we added integration with our ticketing system so that we could get live data about attendee demographics. And these numbers are updated automatically whenever someone registers to our conference. I didn't need to open spreadsheets or crunch some numbers. It's just there. So we have worked hard to move our spreadsheets. We were able to get our volunteer management, sponsorship management into the portal instead of spreadsheets, but we still have a lot of other spreadsheets. We just didn't have enough time and resources to implement everything we needed because running a conference is complicated. It takes time. But slowly but surely, we want to be at spreadsheets 0. We want more spreadsheets replaced and implemented in the portal. So maybe you can help us. Maybe you can contribute to our open source project. It's available on GitHub. You can help with translations, write more documentations, and you can support our community by donating and sponsoring. So thank you for listening, and before I leave, remember to say thanks to the conference organizers here. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for conference organizers for hosting us, for running this. Say thanks to the volunteers because it's not easy. And go thanks the sponsors. And again, thank you, everybody.